Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network presented by FanDuel. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and we are hot in the middle of this head coaching cycle. Got some crazy breaking news this morning coming right off the Steelers playoff loss. Mike Tomlin stepping down. Zay, how crazy has the last 48 hours been for you in this coaching world?
You know, we kind of got the best of every world. Like when you looked into that multiverse, if you Doctor Stranged it real quick and you got to look at all of these visions and you were like, well, do you want the Steelers to crumble or do you want the Ravens to crumble? They all kind of crumbled in their own way. Like the Steelers crumbled in their prototypical way, and the Ravens out of left field crumbled to a new level. They've got the whole Lamar Jackson thing. Watching Pittsburgh get absolutely clapped the same way virtually the Browns got clapped is just icing on top of a crappy, we're back Cleveland Browns season. So I'm feeling a little bit optimistic right now, buried in snow. How are you feeling? The Giants, you got your guy, you got the best candidate out there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Giants. I'm a little bummed the Browns will miss out on Harbaugh, and sounds likely like Todd Monken as well, but it's good. It's good the Giants got him. Good they brought him in. I think the Steelers thing is so crazy. You know what the craziest part is? Like Tomlin stepping down, I would say it was surprising, not shocking. Like you could understand his perspective. You could also understand potentially the Steelers kind of nudging him along to do it. You don't know. It doesn't sound like that, but you never know. The craziest thing to me was the fan reactions, the Steelers fan reactions. I get not wanting to be stuck in this mediocrity cycle, which the Steelers were. They were stuck in the 9-8, 10-7 first round exit cycle. I get it. Frustrating. But celebrating somebody's departure just in general to me is weird already. But the dude was the coach for almost 2 decades. Literally never had a losing season and brought the city a Super Bowl. Like that to me is so crazy. It's so insane seeing dozens, hundreds of Steelers fans unite on social media. Like, yeah, we did it. We got him out. Like, no, the guy's been the coach for 20 years. Is the face of the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise the past 2 decades. Not Ben Roethlisberger, guys. It's Mike Tomlin. And it's crazy to think that everybody is willing to just push it to the side because they're not going to be 9-8. They got a chance. I'll tell you what, the grass is not greener on that side. Depends who they bring in. There's a lot of variables, but it has to do with the players on the roster and not the coach as well.
So that grass is MetLife over there. I'm telling you, they better be careful. And it wasn't shocking to me one bit because this is what they've been asking for the past 2 years minimum. And it got even louder this offseason. I can't tell you how many Pittsburgh fans are in my comment section before the firing happened, just wanting him gone. So it's not anything out of the ordinary. I think it's funny though, because like you said, you go 18 years of straight success, a Super Bowl winning guy. And like you said, was it a nudge out or was it a mutual kind of thing? You notice how all of those fans are like, well, no one can have Tomlin. You got to trade for him. So it almost feels like that's part of the chess move that they're trying to do, which I don't know if you saw the Matt LaFleur thing. That's the direction that they're going. I think I seen a report saying that they would be up for a trade in the head coaching world.
The Packers?
The Packers. I did see that somewhere. I don't remember where I saw it, but it may have been one of those social media JPF, maybe JFP, maybe it was him. Okay. Football guy.
Well, what's interesting about the LaFleur thing is like he is like a prime not free agent because he's not, but he's got 1 year left on his deal where like you want to get ahead of the extension. And the Packers are meeting with him, I believe, this week, soon. I don't know, to discuss that extension. But if the Packers don't see it, why would they not trade him, get some picks, and let somebody else pay him and extend him? I mean, that's a very real thing. Although I don't think the grass is greener on the other side for the Packers too. In fact, I think Matt LaFleur is a great coach. Again, the whole 7 seed thing, losing in the first round. I get it. I really do. But I don't think people are ready for the process it takes to find a coach that can consistently be that good to keep you above 500, to put you in the playoffs every year, to give you legitimate chances to win. That is so much easier said than done. And I do think it's easier for historic franchises like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Green Bay Packers. Like I saw a tweet this morning from Talking Giants, a Giants podcast, saying just go be the Giants. The Giants can flex the muscle with the history, the Super Bowls, winning in New York. Green Bay can do the same thing with the history. Pittsburgh can do the same thing with the history. It's easier for coaches to come in there and be more excited and make the most of the rosters. But if the rosters are devoid of talent, which I think Pittsburgh offensively is right now, that's a hard task. Like the Steelers, to me, right now without Mike Tomlin, are worse than they are with Mike Tomlin. 100%.
1,000%. We've heard that from Joe Hayden when he talked about the Browns would be a 500 team if you just put him as our coach. So I think there's a part of the fan base too that almost wants them to go through a tanking year.
I think
so they can get that glorious high pick. And we don't really know what that looks like. This is why I mentioned last week how they're barking on the door of Cleveland Brown territory, and they better slow their roll down because everything that they're asking for is the same things that we've been asking for 25 plus years. And you see how that's went for us. Now, granted, the history is on your side, but you ain't been you don't mess around with top 5 picks. You don't mess around with top 3 picks. That's not what you guys do. That's not in the Pittsburgh Steelers history. So be careful what you ask for, because once you get down here, it can take a tall task to climb out if you're not familiar with this territory. So I think it's going to be fun to see how they operate in this type of, it's almost like they're not completely falling off the cliff. They got a couple safety valves there because the history's holding them up. But once that history lever is gone, what we gonna see? Because they've had just as many quarterbacks as the next team. They're now in the coaching cycle. They are losing. Their fan base is starting to become divided and have a very opinionated thing where they're buying billboards to talk about firing coaches. So they're doing a lot of poverty things that they claim other fan bases are for what they're doing. So they better be careful.
The ultimate sign of something or a group being dysfunctional in the hiring cycle, at least, is when a coordinator wants to leave for another coordinator position somewhere else. And Arthur Smith, I get it's Detroit. Like the Lions offense is way more talented than the Steelers offense, but Arthur Smith is looking at a new offensive coordinator spot. People don't want to be in Pittsburgh. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers probably going to retire.
Man, say that again? That sounds good. Say that again.
People don't want to be in Pittsburgh.
Woo, that sounds crazy,
it's
man.
The truth. It's the truth right now. You look at the cap space. TJ Watt, who granted was coming off a pretty serious injury, didn't have a great end to the year. Certainly not what his cap number would suggest. And the reality is that cap number is going to go up. That's a huge, huge cap hit for a guy. Again, he came off a serious injury, so you have to cut him slack there. But a guy who didn't perform to the cap number, I guess, in the playoffs. I will say, I thought the Steelers defense played pretty well on Monday night. They absolutely gave them a chance to win. It was 7-6 going into the fourth quarter. You know what's crazy? I found this out. The Steelers didn't play Renegade on Monday night. They did not play Renegade. Yeah, I know.
Oh, so that's where it dropped.
Well, it's interesting because
don't they play in the third quarter, right?
It's like late third, early fourth, and I guess they do it at the start of a drive. I don't really know, but to me, it's 7-6 going in the fourth quarter. I remember the Texans had to play just to get over midfield, and then it went to the fourth quarter. You need momentum right there. They chose not to play it. They hold the Texans to a field goal, so it's 10-6, and then I'm pretty sure, the next possession is the fumble return for a touchdown. So then it's 17-6. The Steelers have the ball back. What are you going to do? Play Renegade halfway through the fourth when you're down by 2 possessions? I don't know. The fact that this is the last game of Mike Tomlin's tenure, a home playoff game, the classic Pittsburgh Steelers offense isn't doing much. Defense is doing more than enough. They won the turnover battle, I think 3-1 in the end, or 3-2 in the end, but we're up 3-0 in the turnover battle walking into the fourth quarter. If you told the Steelers fan that, they'd be like, yeah, we're going to win this game. We may not even score a touchdown, but we're going to win this game. And they don't play Renegade. The Texans out-Steeler the Steelers, and they lose the game. It was the most poetic ending to the Steelers. It was the most poetic ending to the Steelers. I'm not going to say dynasty. It's not a dynasty right now, but most poetic end of the Tomlin era for sure.
It was literally set up for those boys to win it. Everything that you just laid out, you're talking about a 7-6 game going into the fourth quarter that has Pittsburgh Steelers written all over it at home. They hadn't lost on Monday night in 25, 30 years or whatever that ridiculous stat is. But it all boils down to what the NFL is in today's world. They just don't have the firepower on the side of the ball that they need it most on the offensive side.
Correct.
And if you don't have the firepower on that offensive side of the ball, you damn sure better have a Christian Kirk step up and go 8 for 144. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. Or have your rookie peel off 19 carries for 112 yards with a 6-yard average. And oh, by the way, Nick Chubb he was averaging 4.8 yards per carry too. Shout out Nick Chubb. He solidified the win actually with the first down. But it just it's funny how the Steelers fans have lived off the previous success. In the stretch that they're in right now, it is so identical to what the Cleveland Browns have been trying to do for the past 20 years. And what I mean by that is, but I'm thinking off of that 2007 to 2015 era range, where the Browns were always just trying to bandage up positions with old guys on the back end of their career, guys that they could flash a contract to and they could bring in for a year or two to be that bridge guy at that position. That's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have been for the past 5, 7, 8 years, ever since Ben Roethlisberger has been gone. And that's just not a recipe for success. That's bad. That's what you like. Yeah, exactly. They're treating Jalen Ramsey like he's 2017. Yeah. And now you're moving him from his outside position to the safety position, trying to do the Charles Woodson thing. Like, they're just doing a lot of things that the Browns have tried to do. And because they're the Pittsburgh Steelers with their history, no one's looking at it as saying, yeah, they're so far away. Like, they would be telling the Browns that you guys are so far away from being where you want to be right now. You just don't even know it because the history is carrying you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at the Steelers cap numbers. TJ Watt has a $42 million cap hit next year. DK Metcalf, 32. Alex Highsmith, Jalen Ramsey, 21 each, which is nuts. Cam Hayward should be up there if I'm not mistaken. I don't see him. I found him here. Sorry, that's 20. Alex Highsmith, 20 million. Jalen Ramsey, 19.5. Cam Hayward, 19.1. Patrick Queen, 17.1. And then you get into the tight ends. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, they're going to run you more than 10. And then you get down the list of guys who are going to run you a little bit less. Well, the biggest thing to me, though, the best player on the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers the past month or two has been Joey Porter Jr. And he is going to be up for a contract after this season. He's got a 5th-year option, if I'm not mistaken. But he is going to want a big extension and transparently should get a big extension. It would come after next season, but he's been awesome. You're going to have to pay him. You need a number 2 wide receiver. Elephant in the room, you need a quarterback. I like Will Howard. We wait to see. It's a jury's still out there for sure. It's just a lot of question marks. And I think you look at the hot head coaching jobs across the league, I think you'd probably rather go to Baltimore. I don't think it's crazy to say you'd rather go to Atlanta. And then I think it becomes a Pittsburgh versus Cleveland versus – trying to think who else is out there.
Dolphins.
Yeah, that's Miami. That's the big attraction point there is living in Miami. But in terms of just talent, yeah, it's Pittsburgh and Cleveland next probably, which is crazy to think. But we got to talk about this Browns head coaching cycle because, like we talked about, Harbaugh out, Todd Monken likely out as well. There are still some good options out there, though. Mike McDaniel is a name that's been thrown out a couple times. Aiden Durde, the Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator. Dan Pitcher, the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator. And there have been a couple other guys. Obviously, Jim Schwartz, Tommy Rees are getting interim looks. I don't know if you saw, but Jim Schwartz, I believe, also interviewed for head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Are you still on the Schwartz train?
I feel like Schwartz is just kind of testing the waters a little bit. Mm-hmm. I do kind of think that as much as they told us that the offensive mind versus defensive mind isn't going to sway their opinion at the head coaching spot, I just can't help but feel that if you bring in a head coach, if you bring in a head coaching guy and he wants to run the defense, I can't see how you tell him no in that aspect.
Exactly.
Which is why I'm super intrigued with the guy out of Jacksonville, the OC. Yeah. He's take X's and O's out of it. He's a football dude. And that is something that is so valuable. And you talk about what this team could have used on the sideline. It was just that football leader. And with the success that he's had the past couple of years, obviously with Liam Cohen, and I can't remember who was the other guy that he's had success with.
He was with Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sam Darnold the year before
Yes.
that.
Yes.
If you could find a way, and there's reports that Mike McDaniels would consider an OC job. So that's always a positive to know that, hey, he's not necessarily looking for a head coaching gig. I want Mike McDaniels as the OC. I think I'm all in on that.
Ooh, I don't.
I think
I
I'm
think that'd be
all
cool. I think that's they're if I'm not mistaken, Browns already interviewed him for the head coaching job.
right. They did. And that's why that doesn't make sense. But like, if you could get him on the offensive side of the ball, and I think the main selling point that you can have with that is the two things that they have obviously mentioned is the head coaching and the quarterback room. You're talking about a guy who found success with Tua. If you're not going quarterback in this draft this year, which means you're on a bridge window, which is the prototypical thing for a cool off period for the head coach where they want to go back in. They'll take the OC job, and then the year after that, they'll get their head coaching job after that again. So it fits right in line with that. But you talk about, okay, what if we don't go anywhere? What if there aren't any major free agent things? You're telling me there's a better guy to formulate a plan for 4 and 12 on your roster right now? And then there were the reports. I seen someone comment and say that he was interested in Dylan Gabriel. So you're telling me you get to keep the same quarterback room that you have, which is the stability that they harp on, every time they can. And you have a guy who could probably give you the best plan for it. It makes sense if you bring him on just the offensive side of the ball. Now, head coaching thing is a different thing. I don't know if I want him as the lead guy.
See, I mean, it'd be cool. I'm with you. It'd be great if he was the offensive coordinator. He's also interviewed with Detroit and Tampa,
Yep.
two jobs, in my opinion, that are
Way better.
So I almost think McDaniel would have to be the head coach, probably with play calling, but he'd have to be the head coach.
Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I think I would.
As the lead guy?
I think assuming Jim Schwartz is still calling the defense and he does not feel slighted in any way that they went that direction. Yeah, I think I would be. I think it's also a weird world that we're living in with Jim Schwartz. Like, he's been a head coach, he's an elite defensive coordinator, and he's interviewed for the head coaching job with the Browns. You can't bring a defensive guy in. You can't. Like that to me says Schwartz, sorry, this is our guy. Yeah, he's got some defensive background. Maybe he'll call the plays. Maybe Schwartz calls the plays too, but to me, it feels like you're almost undermining Jim Schwartz and what he's done and what he can do, even as a coordinator. Like, I don't love that.
I'm almost wondering, like, what I wish we could get an interview from Jim Schwartz, because it's just so, I don't want to say it's random. Obviously, you've had, your time here, a top 1 defense statistically, and then a top 5 defense statistically. And that's obviously on the front on my big ass forehead. But when you first got him, he made it. He said out of his own mouth that he has no plans of being a head coach. So I want to know, like, is it him just like does he want to be it? And that's him doing the interview process, trying to get a feel for what it would be like to be in that lead guy again. Because again, you talk about leaving to be a DC somewhere else or to be a head guy somewhere else. If they are as close, and I can't imagine that the players feel this way without their head guy telling them how close that we are. Like, I gotta imagine Jim Schwartz is telling the defense, like, look, guys, if we just get this all, like, if they were locked in a room and we were flies on the wall, I can guarantee you Schwartz is probably like, look, y'all keep doing what y'all doing. It's a matter of time before if the offense can just click, it's up. And like, why would you want to leave something that you've built? Not only did you build, but you've had success. You took a step back and then retooled and had success again. And you got the best defensive player in the league. It's hard to just, maybe it's, I need to know where Jim's angle's coming from. That's what I really need to know. And we ain't heard nothing from Jim.
I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even think we need to. Like, I think Jim Schwartz wants to continue being the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. But at the same time, like, it's hard to pass up a potential job. Unless I'm mistaken, the only head coaching job he's interviewed for, I believe, is Baltimore.
That's
a huge step up from being the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns to being the head coach for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. Say it again.
He fits them so well.
Yeah, absolutely.
His attitude in Baltimore.
That'd be great. And here's the thing there. They hire him as head coach. Offensive coordinator is open. Mike McDaniel may take that job. Like, there's a lot of...
Here. Why can't you do
Because I think the head coach interview makes it a sticky situation with Mike McDaniel. Now, I think McDaniel interviewed for the Ravens head coaching job as well, but it's different promoting somebody and making somebody an OC underneath them than hiring him separately. I think it's a pipe dream that Mike McDaniel is the Browns offensive coordinator. I think it's a real possibility he is the offensive play caller as the head coach, which again, I don't think I would mind.
Do we think that this offense or this head coaching search has a huge indication of what this 6th overall pick would be? Like if you go, let's just say Mike McDaniel gets the job. You're probably staying put at 6 and taking a receiver, no? And let's just say they go a defensive guy, the guy from Seattle. You're probably trading back and going offensive line. And I think this coaching job has a lot to do with where they pick. If I had to guess a little bit, like does it sway it one way or another, or am I just kind of maybe not?
I don't think so,
because I think this pick, I think with Dante Moore being we're declaring that he's going back, I think that now you have your options kind of just opened up a lot more because now or maybe it wouldn't though. I'm kind of talking myself into a backwards loop because now maybe guys would be quicker to go receiver earlier, knowing that the quarterback selection, it's Mendoza and then what? Ty Simpson. Right?
I think this with Dante Moore out, I think this year's quarterback class now really resembles last year. You have the number 1 overall pick. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza, I think. And then you got guys like Ty Simpson, got guys like Carson Beck, maybe you like, that are going to fly under a lot of teams' radar in the first round. But there will be teams that really like these guys, like the Giants did with Jackson Dart, that will trade up and get them. I don't know if it's going to be in the first round. I think Dante Moore staying in school, I don't really think it changes the Browns' plan because if Dante Moore was in the draft and the Jets were picking it too, the Jets are probably taking Dante Moore. Like it's not like the Browns are, I think at least, not like the Browns.
Well, then the Jets could trade back though.
Absolutely, and the Jets could also be more aggressive at taking swings at other positions. To me, the first round pick for the Browns is never going to be a quarterback this year. Not going to happen.
Even if we lost. Even if let's just say we ended up losing those last 2 games, we get the first overall pick, right?
Oh, I think it's prime trade down. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think if they got the first overall pick, it would be a conversation with whoever's going to be head coach. It would be a more attractive job, but not having the first overall pick and now not being in a position to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks, the options for the Browns at every other position will likely be thinner because there's no Dante Moore. Whether the Jets go, I mean, they need DB bad, they need wide receiver, whoever they go. If they go non-quarterback, that's one of the only other quarterback needy teams that does not go quarterback in the first round. You're literally taking a player on the top of the Browns big board and taking them off because there's no quarterback there. So I think the options for the Browns almost by default will be fewer unless they trade up, which I don't think they're going to do. I think if anything, they trade back.
I think fans are going to be real disappointed. I don't know why I had this gut feeling this morning. They're going to be so disappointed when Carnell Tate's sitting there at 6 and you see that flash up on the thing. The Cleveland Browns traded back and then they go offensive tackle. Like,
yeah,
I just need to like that. That's why I also kind of want Mike McDaniel because in a sense, now that I'm talking about it even more, are offensive guys, because if you get an offensive guy in, chances are you probably go receiver first. If I had to guess, to give him a toy. But like, how many times have we seen Browns have players on the board and we're like, yes, go get them. And then they trade back. And then it's like, damn.
It happened last year. A lot of us wanted Travis Hunter. That was the reality of it. Then we saw what the trade back was after the fact and like, whoa, how can you say no to that? It is interesting though. I think 3 of the 5 teams picking ahead of the Browns can and would take a receiver. The Jets, the Titans, and the Giants.
Do they trade Wilson, the Jets?
I could see that. I think that is a real possibility.
Would you give up the Jaguars pick for Garrett Wilson? 26th overall, 24th overall pick, Garrett Wilson.
That's tough.
Would it cost that much?
I think it would. I think it would cost a first. Honestly, I probably would. I would feel comfortable with that. I think Wilson, he's already been paid, like he's already
Yep.
been extended. I don't know what the financials would be with the Jets, how much money they would eat, but like
You can build
Garrett Wilson's a different level of receiver than a Jerry Jeudy, or dare I say even a Carnell Tate or a
He's
Jordan.
a legitimate one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's I think borderline a top 10 receiver in the league. Like he's talented.
So that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You reset, and the Jets could even, is there a world where the Browns could trade up? So you would trade up to the number 2 overall pick. The Jets would then fall back to 6. We probably would trade them. We would trade them that the second first overall pick, and then we'd probably couple a second round pick and a couple 6.
Else.
You know what I mean? And then we get Garrett Wilson, and then we get best offensive tackle available.
Yeah, mean, I would not hate that at all. The issue is I don't know if the first, if I'm not mistaken, it was Garrett Wilson before Sauce Gardner, which maybe because the Jets traded Sauce Gardner, this is different. But I'm pretty sure the first thing this new Jets regime did was extend Garrett Wilson. I don't know how much that matters after the Sauce Gardner trade because they extended them right next to each other. Like they paid both of them almost at the same time. And they traded Sauce Gardner. If the haul is too good, I don't know how you say no. Multiple first-round picks for Garrett Wilson and let's say a third-round pick. Like, I don't know how you say no to that if you're the Jets.
Well, I mean, I think we could be in for some fireworks this draft. It feels like we haven't had major fireworks as of late. Everything's kind of been, within the realm of what people have been talking about. This just feels like with how much turnover there was this year, which how many coaches are, and I wanted to circle back on something I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I would say it was a perfect situation for the Browns to be in. Bro, how come the Browns are in a 1 out of 9 situation? There were 9 openings for head coach, and the Cleveland Browns found themselves in the mix of all of that. And I talked about all of the good head coaches. It's like, this has another opportunity for Cleveland to be Cleveland, because what if we do get the last resort? That's the one thing I wanted to talk about. Please don't do what you did with Kevin Stefanski. Please don't do what you did with Kevin Stefanski. And what do I mean by that? You were the only freaking team to even interview this dude for a head coaching job. I don't want I want somebody that was wanted. You feel me on that? Am I wording that right? I don't want to just be like, oh, we're smart. Nobody went to go interview this guy. Let's go get him.
Like Dan Pitcher.
Yes, I want somebody that is wanted. Please.
I'm trying to think who, like Dan Pitcher. I don't think he got another head coaching interview. Now that I'm thinking about it, I do think Aiden Durde will or has gotten other interviews. That's a Seahawks defensive coordinator. Obviously, McDaniel is getting other interviews. Schwartz, technically. Tommy Reese not getting other interviews for head coaching job. Wouldn't that be crazy? We're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. We left you guys on the Tommy Reese note. I'm curious, Zay. I know we both have heard people really like Tommy Reese. He's an offensive wizard. If the Browns were to make that move and make him the head coach, which I don't think they will, it's year 1 of an offensive coordinator being promoted to head coach. That's kind of crazy. Do you think Jim Schwartz would feel a little slighted?
I don't think Jim Schwartz would stay. That he would probably.
So yes, I think he would feel slighted.
Slighted, sure, I guess. I just think it would almost be borderline disrespectful.
Exactly.
I would look at it as like, bro, we got this top defense, and we're just gonna throw it at the wall and see if it sticks again. Like, they are walking on a slippery slope with this gap between knowing that Brook Park is on the horizon and having to retrack what they just told us a year ago, that they really wanted to do a 2 to 3 year window. Because Myles Garrett is not going to be afraid. The way that he's moving right now, it feels like Myles Garrett could say, I want Jimmy Haslam to walk on water. I don't care how you have to do it. Find a way to do it, or I'm out. It feels like he has that type of leverage right now. And if you want to keep him, you can't be just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. Like, you got to bring in a difference maker this year, whether it's at the quarterback position or the head coaching position. And seeing as though there is no difference maker on the market right now at that quarterback position, you better knock this damn head coach out the park like you did the draft last year. Or again, you're going to be falling on that slippery slope instead of walking on it.
You wonder if the Browns do keep Brook Park in mind when they're hiring a head coach, though, because
100%. That's
a
why
guy
I
like
think it's scary.
you think it's
Scary because
scary.
you may miss out on a candidate because that is on the table. Like, you have to, I cannot imagine that, especially if you want to do with what, extend on your resume of keeping continuity and growing, like I keep saying Jimmy Haslam is doing. You went from firing head coaches out of left field to keeping him through a bad stretch, to then firing a guy a year later, or hiring and then firing a year later, to then letting a guy go 6 years of just up and down roller coaster. The next guy that comes in, I imagine they want to be there for 10 years, 6 years minimum. Like, unless, it's like, hey, Brook Park is here. We're going to give you this test run, which why the Tommy Reese can make sense, or why one of these guys, the whatever that guy's name, could make sense. Yeah. Because, like, if they go that direction, that kind of gives me the indicator of how they're operating. So they can't miss out. If they miss out on this head coach this year, I got news for you, Cleveland. Buckle up.
Yeah, I just saw something too. The Browns officially set to offer an interview for Chris Shula, the Rams defensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator John Carroll for a year too. Shout out to John Carroll.
Everywhere.
But everywhere. Yeah, it's crazy. But that's another interesting one where it's a younger guy, a guy who has taken hold of, honestly, a unit that probably leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of pure personnel. Like, I think the coaching staff in LA has gotten the most out of the Rams players defensively, but very clearly could be a guy. He's worked with McVay. He's learned a lot of those principles, put them into practice. Him, Udinski. I don't know how old Mike McDaniel is, but I don't think he's very old. The younger guys, I think, are almost more attractive in this cycle because of the possibility of Brook Park. You miss on a younger guy, so be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They potentially work out. You now have a 2 to 3 year test run, like you said, and it works out. You're now going into Brook Park with, I don't want to compare any of these guys to McVay, but like a similar trajectory where you have a young coach who's showing promise and has all of the time ahead of him, knock on wood, all the time ahead of him to continue to win games, to continue to be your young leader and really be the cornerstone of a franchise. Like, I don't know if you saw the hiring ages of the last 3 Steelers head coaches. It was all below 40. Yep. Like, they're hiring these guys when they're young and trusting them and giving them time. Granted, Pittsburgh had a lot more infrastructure than Cleveland did, with history, with pure talent, but giving these guys the ropes for almost 2 decades and they're winning a ring or 2 in the process. To me, that's more attractive than like a Harbaugh for the Browns, for example. If he were to have come here, it would have been sweet. It's easily the best head coaching candidate out there, but like, at what cost? Harbaugh's going to be coaching for what, he signed a 5-year deal with the Giants. Maybe he calls it quits after 5 years. Like, to me, that is not setting yourself up for this big long-term plan of success in Brook Park. The younger guys are. Udinski's really interesting, the Jaguars offensive coordinator, because of the success he's had. I wonder, Trevor Lawrence kind of not on a prove-it deal, but in a prove-it year, had success. Sam Darnold, prove-it deal and year, had success. I wonder if the Browns would move that direction if they hired him as their head coach. Or they give Watson a prove-it year. But I don't know if that's the plan. I don't know.
I think whoever comes in here is going to have a plan for Watson and Shedeur. Like, that's what the one part of this puzzle that I think a lot of people are trying to leave out, because a lot of people are out on both of them. I think the most important thing is, though, I go back to the Dan Campbell hiring. He promises to bite a kneecap off to establish a resilient identity to the team. The Browns need to get that. Like, I really think that it's not as complicated as what people are trying to make this out to be. And that I think they're finally starting to see that vision a little bit, which is why it's going to be interesting to see how far they drift away from this analytical approach to football now, because I think now that the analytical side has ran, like I go back, you have to go all the way back. What was his name? Paul Podesta was hired in 2016, right? 2016 was when he was hired.
Yep.
Andrew Berry told us that there was an 8 to 10 year plan when he came in 2 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
If you align those comments from 2016 to now, that plan is over and done. There is a new thing on the horizon right now. So I'm wondering if now that they had themselves a really, really good draft, they have Brook Park on the horizon, and they kind of have a better understanding of how the analytical thing works now. This could be the perfect angle to do the shift and go straight football on them, because everything is already set. You're getting your stadium. Now you just got to get the right football guys in place, and we can really have some fun with this thing. So I'm interested to see how are they going to continue to be analytical number one above all, or is that philosophy going to change? Because if they go receiver early or they attack this receiver position, I think it has shifted, because receiver was never on their priority list.
Yeah.
And they're telling us now that it will be this year.
I agree. That will be the biggest telltale sign. My thought then is, who is the true like football guy that you bring in?
Whether it's a Jacksonville dude.
Yeah, the Udinski. Yeah. To me, the more and more I think about it, the potential 1 year prove it with Deshaun Watson, the attractiveness of hiring a younger candidate, the opportunity that you have to work with a guy who's literally gotten the most out of two players who Trevor Lawrence didn't look dead in the water, but Sam Darnold looked dead in the water, got the most out of those guys offensively. I think it makes a ton of sense. And then he can go bring his brightest, his favorite assistant from Jacksonville to be the OC or the quarterback's coach or whatever. I think it makes a lot of sense, but beyond Watson, that's where I think a lot of questions arise. And honestly, I think is the biggest deterrent from any really good head coaching candidate wanting to coach in Cleveland. Like, beyond Watson, you have to have a plan for Shador and or Dylan Gabriel. But even beyond those guys, outside of those guys, what the hell are you doing next? Like that to me is the biggest factor in this whole thing. And I don't think we've gotten any clarity. I think what would be really interesting.
A little bit of an idea. I think we have a small idea of what they want to do.
What do you think it is?
The prime jewel.
I don't know.
Arch Manning. I think
I've seen some stuff about that.
You know what I mean? I think that the arms, remember we talk about the arms race with Jimmy Haslam and what he's not afraid to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about how much capital we could mortgage. I think the sixth, it's going to be interesting to see how they operate this sixth overall pick, because if they accumulate another first round pick from that one into next year, you're talking about an abundance of ammunition to make any kind of trade possible for a guy like Arch Manning. And that's when next year is his year that he'll probably be able to declare, right?
Yeah, I think he will declare next year.
The 1 year bridge, it can. I think that they're not going to put all their eggs in that basket, but I think they're going to put they're going to open up escrow. And I think that escrow that over the past year has been the Arch Manning escrow. And that could be part of the mix. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. This draft is probably one of the biggest drafts in terms of the short-term future of the direction of this team that we've had in recent years. Usually when the Browns talk about the draft, we're talking about the future. I think this draft is more so set on the near future.
I just don't know if the Browns' talented stars will go through another year of that.
That's why
that's my thing. Like you talked about with Myles Garrett. I've said it a couple times. Kind of the same. I have the same feeling I'd have for this as I had for Mike Tomlin stepping down. I wouldn't be utterly shocked, but I wouldn't really surprise me if Myles Garrett requested a trade again. Like if the Browns are signing up for waiting another year for a quarterback or just seeing what we got this year without a real structured long-term, and not even long-term, like medium, let's say 3-year plan, like the duration of Myles Garrett's contract. he's not going to want to be here. He's in his prime. He just set the sack record. He's going for 25. You already put that out on the internet. If this team is in the same boat as they were last year, it would not surprise me if he requested a trade again. It's the reality of it. That's the reality of the past feelings. I don't think those feelings just go away. A year ago, I feel like it was a little bit around this time, close to Radio Row, right, where he requested a trade and said it's always been Cleveland to Canton and kind of backtrack that. It's an odd spot. I don't put it past a player of that talent, magnitude, and, to be honest, star power to want to go win somewhere if there's no long-term commitment. That's why I think, and we've talked about this, the whole Le GM treatment will probably be given to Miles this year in the next couple of years, which I don't think is a horrible idea, to be honest.
I wonder what Miles' opinion is on Shedeur. I mean, there were a lot of video clips this year of sideline reactions, and how many of those big highlight plays have you seen with Myles Garrett's reaction to something that Shedeur has done? I can't, like, I just want to know, is he in these like Myles Garrett should literally be in these meeting rooms, whether not interviewing with the coach, but like before you go to interview the coach, or should you think he should be in there interviewing with the coach?
Steve Bisciotti, the Ravens owner, invited Lamar to be in the interviews. Why not?
You're right.
Like, to me, it's the same as Lamar. Like, this is a guy who's a little disgruntled, and he's the future of your franchise. Let him sit in on these interviews. It's not like you're making Myles Garrett's. It's not like you're presenting 2 or 3 candidates saying, hey, Myles, pick which one you like. That's who we'll hire. No, you can sit in on the interviews and ask the questions. But at the same time, you have to almost appease your star player a little bit. I think if you look at Myles Garrett, the situation, how good he is, the fact that he's that meme of the really nice car in a crappy house, you have to lean into him. If you don't, he's going to leave. Like, that's the reality of it. You didn't in the past, and granted, money talked in terms of the contract, trade request, all this stuff. But he was serious about getting traded. He was. That's the reality of it. And I think at some point you have to appease Myles Garrett if they haven't already. I know that interview with Andrew Siciliano where they talked about, the quarterback. He's like, yeah, I know. I don't think he knew. I really don't think he knew. I think the Browns presented plans, and I don't think they gave him a real blueprint, because if you're telling me the Browns quarterback plan of drafting 2 guys, having Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, was presented to Myles Garrett, and he was like, yeah, why not? I think you're out of your mind.
I just think it's odd that they're telling us that they're going to attack this quarterback move, and I just can't think of anything that makes sense. Like,
Watson is the big elephant in the room in terms of who's starting, who we have to squeeze the sponge dry on. He's got a year on his contract, and they're paying him God knows how much.
But if we're talking about not wasting another year, now there may be still something there with Watson. I'm not gonna throw it away yet, because like you said, he's here. It is what it is.
Exactly.
But like, I just can't imagine you go through another year. Like, that can't be the only plan at quarterback. What move are we not seeing or thinking of that they could do at the quarterback position that would last at least 2 years? Because you're not like, it doesn't make sense for them
It's going to depend on who the coach is, that their connections to the quarterback. Like, I'm trying to think. Let's say it's McDaniel. Maybe it's Tua.
No, God, you better not go that route.
I mean, I'm just trying.
You think he would bring Tua to Cleveland?
No, but I'm just trying to think of potential options relating to head coaches, like McDaniel, the most logical.
You know what it is?
Tua. What?
Robert Saleh and Mac Jones. Line it up, buddy boy.
See, I don't think that's a true connection. I think they're on the same roster. Robert Saleh doesn't work with Mac Jones. Also, that would also mean bringing in a defensive candidate and slighting Jim Schwartz. I don't know. I don't want that.
I mean, the injury-riddled 49ers defense seems to be doing pretty damn good.
They're doing okay. I don't know. I'm saying Saleh, again, I put him on my list last week. I think he'd be a good hire. That, to me, is not like a true connection.
I get you.
Like, I'm trying to
But
think what other offensive guys the Browns were even looking at. Like Monken, well, Lamar wouldn't have come. I'm trying to think. He was in college before. Pitcher, Bengals, not Burrow, unless they made that trade. Like, I don't know. You'd have to go back and find some of these guys. And maybe the connection is literally, like you said, just being on the same roster as these guys. But I don't know. It's a weird spot. There has
McDaniel
to
is
be another
Dylan too.
quarterback in the picture, though. Say it again.
But I think we're forgetting. Like, is Dylan just like Casper right now? What are we doing with Dylan?
I think he is. I truly do think a lot of coaches will walk into Cleveland and not think much of him. I think it will be priority 1A. What can I get with Deshaun this year? Because he's not going anywhere. Priority 1B. How can we maximize Shador? Priority 2, Dylan Gabriel.
I wonder what people's evaluation or these coaches' evaluation is of Shador Sanders. Because if you were to plug Shador Sanders into this draft this year, it's obvious he wasn't he made it very clear that he shouldn't have been drafted in the 5th round. I think we can agree on that, right, Max?
Yes.
So if you were to put Shador Sanders into this draft, where does he fall? Like,
probably the 3rd or the 4th.
Still thinking the 3rd, 4th round?
I do, with just the question marks of how he acted in college, the media circus that he could potentially bring. I do still think those things would be question marks in the draft, but let's say he just put this on tape for another year. I think the tape would move him up a round or so for sure.
Wow, I just don't get how so you're still leaning on the back end when all of off season he was projected to be a top 5 pick.
I think 1st round pick. I think as the offseason went on, the trade up, just like the Giants did with Dart, was the thing, like the plan. And I think that, like, maybe if the Giants like Shador more than Dart, they will maybe would have done it. I don't know. But, like, I'm just trying to compare him to some of the other guys in that draft. Like, Dart was better. I think Tyler Shuck was probably better, as much as it sucks to say. He probably was. Cam Ward was better. What other quarterbacks went higher? I'm trying to think.
Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel's not better. I don't know what other quarterbacks are. Am I missing somebody?
Will Howard, did he go before or he was after?
They were right around. I think he was after. Either they were right around the same. But regardless, like, I still don't think he would have been a prime draft pick. If you see a year of this film, it definitely moves him up, but I don't know how much it moves.
That's interesting.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. We're going to finish up real quick here on Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chev Zay. Continuing to talk about this quarterback situation. Zay, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're about to say something else about Shador potentially moving up around if we had this on film, saw this year.
No worries on it. We can skip past that. I did want to mention one thing though, because I made a video the other day and it got a lot of fans. I was very surprised by the fan reaction, because I didn't know that Cleveland Browns had such an acquired taste for talent. The AJ Brown thing threw me for a loop. These guys, Cleveland Browns fans, do not want AJ Brown. Or should I say, there is a vast majority of fans who are out on AJ Brown. Are you one of those fans who are too good for AJ Brown? Because that was the feeling that I got.
This is like AJ Brown and Nick Sirianni is like two bulls butting heads. Like two people who will not budge. I think, I don't know what analogy I could use here, but like you need somebody who can welcome in AJ Brown, who can, who's been there, who can deal with it a little bit differently. Like the perfect example, and it worked in Tennessee, was Mike Vrabel. That's why I think if AJ Brown gets traded, he's going to the Patriots. But that type of coach. But even then, like I posted a video talking about the Patriots getting AJ Brown, and half the comments are like, "We're good, we don't need him." Have you watched those wide receivers? Like AJ Brown is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. That's the reality of it. The talent speaks a lot more than those antics do. And guys, if we're calling a spade here, I know he had a couple drops in that playoff game. The quarterback play hasn't been good in Philly this year. The offensive coordinator was not good in Philly this year. There's a lot of issues. Actually, Stephen A. Smith, who says some crazy things on the air sometimes, made an awesome point. If we are even asking the question about A.J. Brown's compatibility, A.J. Brown staying in Philly, the disconnect between him, coach, coordinator, quarterback. Why are we not asking the same thing about the quarterback position in Jalen Hurts? To me, that's a huge aspect of this that we have not even talked about. Hurts was not very good this year. He was great the final 2 playoff games last year. He was not very good this year. Better quarterback play, better system. A.J. Brown, 1,200 yards, double-digit touchdowns.
Well, you know what it is? It's the stigma. Just like the Cleveland Browns have a stigma, AJ Brown has the diva stigma, and Jalen Hurts doesn't. And that's what it is. And these receivers get punished for being who they are. Like, you think about the greats. Now, I'm not going to put AJ Brown in the Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson category. I mean, it's probably closer rather than not. But you think about some of these receivers who have been punished because of the way that they are personality-wise. AJ Brown is the DeMarcus Cousins in the NFL. He doesn't get the, like, I won't go to that extent in terms of the penalties and stuff like that, but the way that he's viewed, it's not, when you think of AJ Brown, it's diva, crybaby, attitude, dysfunction, all of these other things. But like, I don't think there's any players who have said just like the Aaron Rodgers thing. There are no players that have come out and said anything bad about AJ Brown, the person in the locker room. There been?
Not that I've seen. I think part of it probably is to save face in the media a little bit. But no, I think that's a good point too. And I think any quarterback would enjoy having the opportunity to throw to a guy like that. But I want to finish with this question because I just looked. A.J. Brown, 3 years older than Garrett Wilson, less duration on his contract, but I think better. I think he's a better player than Garrett Wilson. Who would you rather have on the field?
What's the compensation? Because that might be the ultimate debate of debates right there.
I think Garrett Wilson would garner more. Let's say, the Jets that won't work. The Jets are picking 2. The Eagles are not picking 2. Let's say you got to give up a little bit more for Garrett Wilson. Are you willing to do it? Would you rather pay less for it? Obviously, it matters how much less and how much more, but give less for A.J. Brown and get A.J. Brown, or give more for Garrett Wilson and get Garrett Wilson?
Knowing the Browns and the direction that they would like to go, Garrett Wilson makes more sense because of the scheme fit. Creating separation is definitely more of a Garrett Wilson thing versus an AJ Brown thing, and they like that a lot. But that's the part that I don't understand, because if you're saying you have to give up more for Garrett Wilson, that goes against everything that they believe in
for now,
and their first move,
everything they've believed in
till now, right?
At 8 to 10 years with Paul DePodesta there.
But they would be taking their first stab at putting value into a guy. Like, would you want your first stab at it to be Garrett Wilson? I guess
hell yes.
The question.
Hell yes.
So I mean, I think that's the ultimate question. Yeah. I think who opens up the offense more now, though, I truly believe if you put AJ Brown into this offense, what he would do and the fear that he would strike, you're talking about 3 literal specimens, 4 human beings on the offensive side of the ball. AJ Brown, Harold Fannin Jr., and Q. That you're talking about, oh my God, I got to tackle Q 18 times. Man, damn, I got to tackle 44 7 times. Damn, they just threw it up top to AJ Brown.
Oh, yeah.
That is just bruising to a defense. And I think, and I'm not saying that people aren't going to want to guard Garrett Wilson. That's a whole different assignment.
Yeah,
man, you're talking about striking fear into defenses with that type of talent.
You are, yeah. I mean, like you said, it'd be a bruising offense. I think the other side of the coin is we saw what Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur got into on the sideline occasionally. It would be worse with AJ.
Oh man, that would be. You know how many clicks that's getting?
It will be. It would be worse if AJ Brown got here. Like that. Just the sideline antics. Gosh, if there was a miscommunication on something and frustration had boiled over, probably won't happen like that the first year, but you never know. Frustration boiled over, I think it'd be worse. Worse. Garrett Wilson has honestly dealt with worse quarterback play and has never really showed that. I think 3 years younger, even if you have to give up a little bit more, Garrett Wilson's under contract. 4 more years. I think you do Garrett Wilson.
My only thing is you mentioned the sideline stuff and mentioning it being worse. I only wonder is just like, do the players kind of have the same feeling that AJ Brown has when you're talking about obviously AJ Brown is a alpha of alphas type of guy, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But I wonder if the sentiment that he was expressing was really the entire what the offense felt. No one just let it be known like
I
he does.
I think that was the case, especially with how quickly they moved on from Kevin Patullo, their offensive coordinator.
And I'm just thinking like if you bring in AJ Brown, you're getting a winner. You're getting a leader. Now, granted, it may not be the type of leader that you want, but you think these receivers are not going to gravitate to AJ Brown? You think
Yeah.
AJ Brown isn't going to feed off a Q, hyping the crowd up and stuff like that? Like that type of stuff, that type of presence matters. And I think that Garrett Wilson comes in. Obviously, it's not going to be as stamped impact. It would just be, okay, I'm going to let my play explain for you. We talk about what type of leader we want. Like maybe we need some of that animation on the sideline. Think about that Packers game and how valuable it was after Q scored that
Yeah.
touchdown and went to the sidelines and was hyping up the crowd and all that stuff. Like that type of stuff matters. And I think that AJ Brown, the juice would be worth the squeeze, and I'm thirsty. So let's go ahead and give me some of that Tropicana, and let's get AJ Brown to Cleveland, and stamp it, please.
I like that. The juice would be worth the squeeze, and I'm thirsty. I like that. You take us home with it. Here we go, Brownies. But I feel like that should be the stamp at the end of every episode we talk about an AJ Brown trade.
Hey, stay safe out there, Cleveland. There's a lot of snow. I'm way east right now. We got literally. I'm about to go shovel probably 1.5 feet of snow. So stay safe, boys. Max, are you traveling anywhere?
No, I'll be here. Thank God.
No playoff games?
No, I got back from New England, which was awesome.
I was gonna say we didn't talk about it. How was that?
Everything minus the physical game between the White Lions was incredible. Crappy game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you'll probably end up at a Super Bowl press box somewhere, so you'll have the best seat in the house
one day, but not this year.
Coming soon. Yes. All right, boys. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
We appreciate you guys. We will see you next time on Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network.